Nole Nation, welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown. We've got my guy, James Coleman, big game James Coleman, that is, MFTK, Den Media Group, co-host of Spear Addicts. You know where to find this guy. We really appreciate him always coming in. Give it to the damn fullback. My co-host, as always, Jen Santee, a.k.a. at Jen Santee 1890 on X. And a guest, this is the first time on camera. He's called in a few times now. Tiny Hat CEO. Appreciate you joining us, man. Plenty of stuff to talk about today, man. Plenty of stuff. Recruiting. That's kind of like the name of the game right now. Recruiting is going on. We just had Junior Day weekend at Florida State. Had a bunch of big names in town. I'm talking about a bunch of big names. I'm talking about 5 stars all over the place. 5 stars like Zion Grady, who just decommitted from Alabama. 5-star linebacker Zayden Walker on campus. We had 4-star linebackers like Tavion Wallace, a guy who you look at him, he's 6'1", 210 pounds, like right down, Randy's alley. Really love to see this guy pop. So you got him, a bunch of good guys. Byron Lewis, a 4-star running back who is just an absolute stud that popped on the game. But a big group, a big part of this whole recruitment weekend was a big group of guys from Mandarin. And it just so happens one of our guests is a coach there and got to make the trip. So really glad to have him on. And I guess, how was the weekend, man? Did you have fun?
Jen, you coach at Mandarin? I didn't know. I had no idea.
People forget. You got to remind them, James. You got to remind them.
Me, like I would never. You would never think like you. I mean, a lot of people who follow me subscribe to a lot of different podcasts and a lot of different message boards and a lot of different things. And I would have never thought that'd be an interesting angle. Like, man, there are 3 kids that we really, really want that literally have a former player that is coached by them. That's crazy. Who the hell? Like, that's wild. That's crazy. But I didn't go to the Junior Day, but I know Trammell. I believe Drake went. I didn't know if Drake went or not, but I know Trammell was there. I know Jamie was there. But Jamie got there on Friday, and we got a chance to take a look at Tour of Duty, the first Tour of Duty. It was very interesting. They did a pretty good job of they're doing a really good job, the staff of recruiting Jamie. And Jamie obviously was committed to Alabama for not even a year, but he committed in July, right before last season. If you listen to how Saban recruits, I told him I'd commit to. I'm not even mad at him about it. It was pretty impressive. But Florida State, Dugans, Mike Norvell, everybody, they never stopped communication and never stopped doing those things. It also helps when you have a guy that can bring up, like, oh, you want to go to the game? Cool. Let me pick up the phone call. Let me pick up his phone, make sure you get to the game, get to wherever you need to get to. And he sees the relationship that I have with the majority of the fan base and with the coaches. Like I joke, like, they saw my coaches, they treat my oldest son better than they treat me. So, like, actually, the LSU game, Trey and his godfather went with Jamie as their late edition guest. And they all made sure they talked to Trey, and everybody knows Trey. But good guys. They're going to the one that Trammell's obviously locked in and doing what you would want your QB1 to do. He's going to, if he does what everybody's supposed to do, he's going to. I told people it's going to be a lot like Luke Cromenhawk's development. As you saw, Luke won a state championship as a 3-star, bumped up to a 4-star, had a pretty good senior year. But just the difference is, whereas Luke lost a lot of his weapons, Trammell still has Jamie. We have a young man, Red. We have a couple other guys that are going to be really, really – we're going to be good for a while over there, man. We got some cats over there. The only thing we lost is our running game. But you'll see Trammell have to be – for us to get to where we need to get to, Trammell has to be that guy, and I think he will be fine. Now, Drake, who is I'm a big Jamie Ffrench fan, by the way, but this is how good Drake Stubbs is.
Like
Jamie
best in the
can go to
game.
Alabama. Jamie
At
can go to
safety.
Ohio. I'm cool with that. Drake can't go to Florida. Drake can't go to Miami. I don't want him there because he's going to be really, really good. So,
Yeah, hey, I agree. Like I worry Drake, I know he's been to Florida, he's got some different stuff up. Like he's got a lot of schools after him. That is going to be a tough one, but I would definitely absolutely love to have him in there. And as far as Jamie, you guys know how I feel about Jamie as far as him coming in. Was there anybody in particular that caught your eye on some of the visits this weekend, Tanya?
Not really. I'm more of an overall looker at all of the
Right.
stuff that's happening there. I just like the talent. I like the high rating of all of the people that are coming in. It's just showing that Norvell and the staff are out here trying to recruit dudes. And see, that's the thing that everybody has been complaining about, and that's exactly what we want to see him do. He's getting the talent level raised. We've already seen the floor come up. Now we get to see him take the top off of this thing, and that's what I like to see. All of the big dogs showing up, and then you have all of the pieces that go along with it. We know the NIL is on point, which we'll get into in a little bit. We know that the scheme is on point. We know that the coaching staff is gonna make sure that these guys are in position to succeed. And I also love the fact that they are addressing the shortcomings on the field that we are looking for. We know that we need help at backers, so they're getting the big backers in there. We know we're looking for edges, so they're getting the edges to come in there. We know that we want to see more explosiveness on that offensive front, and we're bringing that explosiveness in there. So I'm happy with everything that I see there. I defer to all of the big dogs when it comes to who's going where. I just watch and I see who's going to be putting on that garnet and gold. And when they pull up, I have confidence in this staff that they're going to bring in some dogs, and we're going to be able to take this thing to the next level. So I'm happy.
Facts. That's kind of always been my thing, and I put in the thumbnail is that the recruiting has been an evolution as we add our fifth member to the show, Chris Frazier of Spear Radix, and we're just gonna make this thing a party. Yeah, I love it. I mean, you talked about it. The high school, we're still adding possibly another guy, and Amari Williams, to 24. We'll see if we can get him. I believe it's February 7th. It's National Signing Day. Really, the other one, it's really just kind of late signing day. It should be National Signing Day at the end of December, and then late signing day in February. But the 2025 guys, what's happened with the Crimson Tide? Jen, we're up to like 5 or 6 guys from them now. I mean, it's been pretty fortuitous, and Mike Norwell and them have like absolutely jumped on it.
I think we're at 5, but I think the media whining is at what, a plus 1,000. Oh my God, the transfer portal has to be fixed. Alabama is getting hurt. Wah. Look. I'm waiting for the tiers for the Washington team, who is also just in the playoff. I don't see national media going, oh my God, Washington's getting decimated, as all those kids are now going to Alabama. Where are the tiers? Somebody tell me where their tiers are. I'm sorry. I do feel for Washington. I absolutely do. I think they got a great coach. Honestly, if you're going to ask me, I think they kind of upgraded from Kalen DeBoer because Jed Fish can actually recruit. So for me, I'm just wondering where those tiers are for Washington. Where are the tiers for the Arizona kids? Where are the tiers for the Arizona class that's getting decimated? They're not there. They want to fix this now because Alabama's getting decimated, and that makes it a problem. I'm sorry. They're now having to be a regular fan base.
Right back down to reality. Right back down to reality.
Welcome to reality, jerk-offs. Your program wasn't great before Nick Saban got there. And now all of a sudden, oh my God, kids don't want to come play for you when Nick Saban's not there. Because, newsflash, Tuscaloosa sucks. Okay? It sucks. It's not any fun. It's boring. And when Nick Saban was there, hey, great. Now look, I know we have some Alabama fans in our that are members and subscribers, and that's great. And I do feel a little sorry for those guys because they don't know what it's like to be a regular fan base. But guess what? You're waking up today. Yep.
And I'm glad you said that because I want to jump in on that point real quick. One of the things that always made me mad about just the SEC overall is that they've always only had 1, 2, maybe 3 teams at the top that was getting all of the love, all the support, all the praise, and then the rest of the middling and the bottom feeders were able to pump their chests up and SEC. Every other conference was dealing with the same thing. The heights may not have been as high unless you're talking about a Clemson and Ohio State and Michigan, USC when they have it going, Oregon when they have it going. But the rest of the conferences were the same way. So when these massive issues were happening to all of these other schools, silence, crickets, you don't hear any of that. Now the big bad Alabama is coming back down to reality, and they're going to have to realize that it's going to be dogfights until they can get that NIL right. From what I'm seeing all over the timeline, I'm seeing these NIL bags aren't where they're supposed to be for that school yet. That's why they're losing a lot of these kids. They don't have the GOAT to come in and cover up a lot of the shortcomings. Now they got to deal with it just like the rest of us do. We go out there and we recruit our players, throw the bag at them, they show up, and then big bad Alabama would fly in with their little helicopter, and then that aura would snatch a player away, and we would all be upset about it. Now Alabama's got to come deal with the same thing, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
And that just hand of God is just taken out of the Southeast, out of Florida and South Georgia and stuff. Like, it's just one hand out of the pot, pretty much. You got Georgia, but besides that, I like us against anybody. Mike Ioannidis had a good question for you, James, talking about your position at Mandarin. He's like, what makes UM and UF competitive for some of these other guys? Because we see guys taking visits and some guys going down there like a Derek Plaw's last cycle. As far as recruiting, when it comes to your guys, like even from an outsider, we're like, oh man, why would anybody ever go for Miami? But I guess as a coach and dealing with these young men, why would they go to some of these places?
Strategy and where they sit on the board. Miami's strategy was a lot different than our strategy. And it's funny, and I think one of the things that everybody in this, I was about to say space, but everybody on this panel right now does is participate in spaces. If I recall, and I think a lot of times we're having this, or at least me, I'm having discussions with people who are not armed with all of the information that I'm armed with, and they don't understand that they're not armed with that information, and we're getting in arguments that really, like, you don't know what you're talking about, and you just don't know, and you feel very strongly about the stuff that you don't know. So when it comes to Derek, like we had a chance, and he was on there, but Derek had a surgery that he had right before spring ball. So Florida State didn't really get an opportunity to see him in the way that they wanted to see him, whereas Miami never stopped recruiting him. And it was really down to Miami and North Carolina State, which I believe were two good opportunities for him. And then and the negative recruiting wasn't like how negative recruiting typically happens. Most people say your guy sucks, and everybody said Alex Atkins sucked until it was, Alex Atkins is not going to be there. And that was the recruiting, and it did get into him, and it made sense. Alex is and I had to tell Derek, like, yo, Atkins isn't going to get a normal job. He can get a lot of money as an assistant at Florida State. But we know as long as Cristobal is at Miami, Maribel will be there. So the connection was with Maribel more than it was with Cristobal, and Derek's going to be fine there. I could actually see him playing eventually, even though he's going into the interior, and he's not one of their more higher regarded guys, but they're also not going to try to rush him on the field. So that's that recruitment. Our other guys have absolutely no interest in Miami outside of just, all right, I'll go on a trip. Like, I have no problem with that. Drake, now, like Tramel's not going to go to Miami. They've got their start. They got their committed quarterback. Florida has tried to get in there with Tramel. I think the only way that would ever even kind of come to pass is if Florida State maybe gets a higher rated quarterback and then they want to like move on from Tramel. But that hasn't been seen, and I don't see that happening as well. But when it comes to Florida and Drake is this weird set of circumstances that is kind of just taking place. And Drake is just enjoying the process. And I think we kind of accidentally missed out on something. For people who don't know, you cannot do in-home visits with 25 prospects right now. What you can do is you can meet them at the school. You get each coach gets 2 contacts at the school. And you can meet them whatever time of day you want to at the school. You meet them as long as the school is open that's where you can go meet him at. And so Florida State started off the contact period on that Friday. Literally, as I talk to people, Mike Norvell makes the announcement, I'm coming back to Florida State, $10 million a year. And 15 minutes later, he's talking to Drake and Jamie Ffrench. But then he also talked to Drake Stubbs individually. And what was supposed to happen was Coach Fuller and Coach Surtain were supposed to meet with Drake later that evening. Traffic, a lot of things, little miscommunication happened. We did not get a chance to meet with Drake. Austin Armstrong, I believe that's his name, the little weird boy, cosplay Kirby.
Bobby Hill?
Yeah, Bobby Hill, which they told me, and I did not mean to be. They say the only rival coach that I respect is Derek Nicholson, and that was my teammate. They say everybody else, they say, James, it's just natural. You don't like those colors if you're not wearing them. So like Mandarin happens to be orange and green. If I'm wearing orange and green with an M on it with the Mandarin, I'm cool. If it's anything or a FAMU Rattler, it's cool. I help with bowls. They're orange and blue. If it's not bowls, orange and blue, I don't care about them. And I knew bowls wasn't coming. And they say the look I gave him was like I could choke slam him. And I was like, nah, I didn't even recognize that was him. His face is not as fat in real life as it looks like when he was, or he's lost weight since that initial press conference. Either way, things happen. But
that's
Austin,
called stress.
Stress could do that. You're correct. But right now, I would say, based upon showing up and the consistency, they're doing a really good job. They got Drake to come that weekend to Florida on an unofficial. And they did a really good job of showing the love. There was no substance shown, but there was hella love shown. And I think once games get played and once reality starts to set in, and that's a hell of a schedule that they got to get through. And I don't see Drake wanting to go somewhere where there's going to not be a staff there. But I think when I saw Drake talk to Mike, you saw the energy, and I just think we kind of missed the opportunity there. But we'll have many other opportunities for them to get. I think this year we did the 7-on-7 in Gainesville last year. We'll do our 7-on-7 tournament in Tallahassee this year. We'll get numerous times for us to be able to go over there and meet and do whatever. And I think those guys are they're going to do a hell of a job recruiting. And I think a lot of the legit criticisms that we got with recruiting in this 24 cycle, I think we won't have as many criticisms in this 20. The criticism in the 25 cycle is that we're still going to only sign between 20 and 23 players. We will never sign. We won't have a 30-player signing class.
Yeah, this thing's evolving. They're not going to just load up on one or the other. They're going to get the best players out of each, but it just so happens. And you've heard Chris say this a lot, so I want to hear his opinion on it. You know, this 2025 class is just – it's loaded. It's concentrated in the trenches and a little bit outside, like you've talked about. We've already got our quarterback. We're looking at some different running backs, linebackers as well. But talking about orange and green and kind of people, we've had a couple of different players end up at their destinations, and Rodney Hill ends up with Miami as a walk-on. I kind of like the thing when he left. There was a bit of angst around it. You know, maybe he didn't get treated the right way around NIL. There was rumors. He denied it. But, you know, you figure out the same thing Dennis Brigg with Illinois. What do you think of those guys finding their new spots? And also Gilbert Edmund as well, going back to South Carolina.
Congratulations.
Pretty much.
I mean, Rodney Hill's a preferred walk-on. It's his third choice in the school that he wanted to go to. The first school that he went to, their head coach left. So when you pick FAMU over Miami, that pretty much tells you what you need to know. He's a preferred walk-on, not just a walk-on, so they can quit acting like they're not paying him to be there. Preferred walk-on is different. Dennis Briggs going to Illinois is not a fit. I think it was a mistake personally, but you'll play. You'll be the guy, I guess. Is Illinois known for putting defensive linemen in the NFL? Is Illinois known to put
Anybody?
anything in the NFL.
Yeah.
Just kind of
And-
somewhere to go disappear. Like that's just like another Big Ten defensive tackles. It's just a shame. We could have had something special.
It's like a blanket. I know they put some skill players in the NFL, but defensive tackles, I don't know, man. Maybe it's a perfect fit. Maybe I've lost my mind, but I don't think so. Who was the other one?
Well, Edmund Beamer got on stage and pretty much said that Edmund gave up his starting role at Florida State, so he could go beg to go back to South Carolina. Is basically the way he put it.
When was he a starter at Florida State?
I don't know. I thought his snaps were cutting third, but that's just me looking at the facts.
At South Carolina, he had 206. I thought it was 106. He had 206 at Florida State this past year. We brought in 2 defensive linemen. You've also got the defensive linemen that are coming up edgewise in the cycle as far as the 22 and 23 class go. Sure. Whatever Beamer says, I guess. Like, if you want that around your school, if you want to lie for them to make it sound better, do what you want to. But there's a big reason why he said maybe at the end of everything that he said. George, you brought that up to me on the phone. Like, these coaches are going to say whatever they can to make it sound like their program is at a status that it's trying to get to. The problem is everybody keeps trying to make this game something that it's not. The game is played on a football field in between the chalk. When your team does not perform at the level that you preach that it does, now you're just a hypocrite. You're preaching something that you don't live. I think Beamer is one of those guys. I think there's a number of those guys. Mario Cristobal is probably the biggest blasphemer of all. He speaks on such a level of how elite they are in talent and how elite the coaching staff is, but yet you shit your pants every time that it's time to win games where it matters, which is the actual football game itself. So a lot of these coaches, they want to make something that it's not. It's all a mirage. It's like a bunch of magicians, like, oh, watch my right hand while my left hand actually reaches around and grabs your ass, because that's what they're doing. It's a bunch of ass grabbing going on. It's a bunch of false promises. And if these kids buy into it, then by all means, get felt up. Do your thing.
Did he say get felt up?
It's very
Break
interesting.
that one down for us, James. Break that metaphor down for us.
No, man, I mean, it's very easy. It's a symbol. It's low T, high E. Is dealing with that. He's 46 years old. Testosterone levels naturally dip when you aren't doing things a certain way, and you don't have the full effects of having a fuller lifestyle. So he's definitely not that. I'm sitting here looking at his roles that he's had as a coach, and as if he were a high school coach, I would be like, yo, this is really dope. He can coach everything. He was a wide receiver and a long snapper at Virginia Tech. Shout out to the legend Frank Beamer, which is his pops. He was a cornerbacks coach at Mississippi State and the recruiting coordinator for 2 years. Then to try to be able to keep things consistent, he became a running backs coach, which personally, as a running backs coach, I always say we're the most useless position coach on the field. You can either run or you can't. And it's very, very little. We can teach you the plays, and typically you want them to be your really good recruiters. Then he switched from running backs coach to go to South Carolina to be the outside linebackers coach and coach special teams coordinator. Then in a natural progression, he went from outside linebackers coach, because we all know outside linebacker and cornerback are basically the same position. So we wanted to go to cornerbacks coach. So that makes sense. Then he went to safeties. And then he went to Virginia Tech back home to become the assistant head coach and coach running backs again. And then he went to Georgia to coach tight ends.
Are you trying to say they like shuffle him around to wherever they can hide him on each staff?
I want people to realize this. So is
that where we're going with this?
This guy's the head coach of a Power 5 school in a Power 2 school. And you probably know more about position coaching than him. So that's why I would say don't give him too much credit now because they're at your favorite school. They can be a myriad of things. They just work hard or they can read a script, which is nothing wrong with it. That's what some people have to do. But when I see this, it makes no sense for him to really be a head coach, and he doesn't have any identity. So it makes sense why he can just spew BS about what getting somebody here. Like, hell, that's, again, Gilbert Edmonds did not live up. Like, here's what should have been said. The truth. This would have been 100% the truth. Is that our guy got a call up to the big leagues, and we expected him to perform. He didn't. He got sent back down. This happens in baseball all the time. It's nothing to be alarmed with. He got sent back to the farm leagues, where we're going to develop him, and hopefully he'll get better, or we're going to send somebody else to him. So that's basically what I get from Beamer, but he won't be there for very much longer. 20-18 is not why they hired him. He's going to probably have another losing season this year, and he'll go back and be some random position coach for some school because his father was really, really good at his job 20 years ago. So, like, that's the beautiful thing of a father protecting his son and through his legacy.
Yeah, shout out to Beamer out there. It is one thing that's pretty cool. We got voted number 1 according to 247 on their ACC power ratings. So it is nice to kind of get that vote. They got Louisville number 2, Miami number 3. Not so sure about that, but they did beat Clemson. Behind them, they got NC State, Clemson, Virginia Tech. I think it's a pretty clean sweep. Notre Dame is our biggest game, and they're out of conference. I think we'll probably run through this thing pretty quick. Anybody catch that? You think they got that 247 got it right?
It's not hard to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Other than like Jared Verse, like that's the same people that said Jared Verse was a no-star going out of high school.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he did gain a lot of weight and change positions and all that.
Did they really have Miami at 2?
3.
3.
Oh,
They got him
3.
at number
Oh.
3. It's like I want to protest, but then I start to look around and start to make the argument, and it's like at least they got the guys. Like
I'd take NC State over Miami.
I'd say Clemson over Miami. I've talked about this on the show. People don't realize here. I say it here because again, I don't get anywhere near the love as everybody else. So I love coming on shows. And this is not BS. This is from. If you know who I am, you know who one of my inside sources are at Miami, and we just talk. Like, no trolling. We just talk. We catch up. Them boys put a whole new. And it's great though. It shows it made me want him on our staff even more. Because what happened was Miami had a rash of losing all of the defensive ends. So, what they had was an abundance at linebacker because they healthily recruited that position. So they shifted from a 4-3, which they are an even front. They shifted to an odd front. They went to a 3-3 stack. They had a bye week. They shifted to the 3-3 stack. So Clemson it's like, imagine studying for a math test. Like, you're studying really hard. You know this algebra, and all of a sudden you're in a vocab quiz, and you didn't do any reading. It's like a completely different mindset, completely different thing, and you can kind of guess some of the words, but you don't really know it. That's what happened with Clemson. Clemson literally came out ready to go up against something. So even if you look at it, while Clemson was more talented, and that's how a more talented team typically is able to hold off a team that they're not prepared for. If Miami was where Miami used to be and did this, it would be a blowout. But Clemson was good enough to be able to figure out things on the fly. Now, I'm just going through the range of different games. So now Florida State is the next week. We have 1 week of film of them doing something that we've never seen them do before. And that's not what Guidry does. So, all right, they may try to throw this wrinkle, but they've done 4-3 all season. We're going to practice for 4-3. Now you're seeing it. You see one of the bigger runs we had were when we consistently went stretch. Trey Benson had the guy that was a little nervous to hit him, and so he didn't. And then Trey Benson scooted up the sideline. You saw different things that their defense did to confuse us. Now, they try that BS against Louisville, who runs a 3-3 stack, and they just said, nah, Nah, B. We know exactly what you're doing, D. Nick. We've seen this before. We see this every day. And Louisville destroyed their defense. Louisville's defense just couldn't stop anybody. So, those are the things that I don't believe Miami until I truly see Miami do something that's un-Miami. Like, be well coached, be disciplined, beat people. And I think they're and this is no trouble. I think they're a middle of the pack team. They'll be a 7 to 8 win, an 8 to 9 win team with Cam Ward, and that's not going to be better than Clemson. Might be on par with North Carolina, NC State, and others. But to think Miami, if you're saying Miami's 3, that means you think Miami has that. You'll be watching. Let's say you'll be watching the ACC network, or you'll be watching something that's in November, in early November or October. Man, these guys have a chance to play in Charlotte. And if you're saying that, that's not being like, we're looking for clicks. We're being big game boomer, which I like big game boomer, by the way. But we're trying to generate clicks and stuff like that. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it.
If Miami wins only 8 or 9 games this year with that schedule, oh my God. I'm telling you right now, if y'all thought I was annoying beforehand, I am going scorched earth on these boys, because there is no way, with the way that he's recruiting, how long he's been there, there's no way. If
there's a way
this year, boy.
Well, there's a will, there's a way to lose. By God, he's one of the best losers I've ever seen.
I hope they lose to Fam. That way they can lose to both teams in Tallahassee. It's gonna be fantastic.
Brad, the comment right here, Mario, just, man, when I seen that on Twitter, I about lost it, dude. They had this whole thing set out there. It wasn't just the Oregon ring. It was something from this. Nothing was from Miami. Just all stuff from previous talks. That shit was hilarious.
How did I miss that?
Oh
my goodness.
I'm telling you, the only rings he can show up for Miami is what he got in the 80s. That's it. He can't show him nothing now. Mario is just showing off all kind of other mess.
Maybe he could show his papers from getting fired at what was it? FIU?
FIU.
Yeah.
That story, man, that's my favorite story, because he got fired from FIU, and at the same time Miami was hiring a coach. They wouldn't give Butch Jones an interview. Miami pretty much, yeah, you got a national champion, but that was back then. You ain't shit. He goes, takes the FIU job that Cristobal hung up. Yes, and then goes and beats Miami. So I absolutely love that.
What were they doing on the sideline? Was that like the running man or some bullshit like that?
I don't know.
The motorcycle kid.
It's classic though. It's in gifs all over the timeline. Yeah. Jeff Hill, who's like the patron saint of these things, man. He comes and makes it rain on each thing. It's like he's got his picture up there, man. What's up, Jeff? Everyone can leave. It could be a 2-race conference, and Miami still can't win. That's hilarious, man. There's no doubt about it. They would find a way to lose.
Real talk. They have SMU, they have Louisville, they have Georgia Tech, who always plays them hard, and they have them in Atlanta. They have us. They have.
Louisville's at Louisville though this year, right?
Yeah.
Because Louisville.
They have NC State, if I remember correctly. They have Syracuse, which a lot of people are not looking at Syracuse. Man, that guy is doing some work right now, getting people from the portal.
I think it depends on what time of year they play, though. That would be my thing for them.
Oh, I'm not worried about like it's not, because Syracuse is in a dome, so it's not as cold. I'm talking about more so that's a better coach than Mario.
Oh, no. I just meant like when the team gels, are they going to play Syracuse early in the year, or are they playing them later? Because if they play them later, I'm right with you. I think that could be annoying. Yeah.
The crazy part is that Miami, for as much as they pick on Florida State about transfer portal, they have taken a lot of people. They still are. I think they're well over their 85 right now, and they're going to have to do cuts and adjustments. And what could really be interesting for Miami is, which we've already seen the news come out against Florida, is the NCAA done telling people like, hey, you got to come pay the piper for certain things.
Didn't you two hint at that whole situation before it happened?
I mean, I throw stuff against the wall a lot and hope it sticks. So, who knows? I mean, it could have been, or whatever. I could have been talking about the Jags that day or something else. But I definitely know Chris has talked about it, and I obviously we all have friends and connections of different things, but Miami's just they've got an interesting thing because they've got to either get kids to be preferred walk-ons, or they're going to have some tough conversations with guys post-spring, which, you know, they're not going to get rid of their freshmen, which they had a class of almost 30 kids, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that helps
Or
us,
more.
of which more than half were 3 stars, if I remember correctly. Then you took in, I don't know how many are left of the 30 that you took in last class. Might have been more than 30, if I remember correctly. Just in between 40 people between portal and high school and last year. So, like, most of Miami's team is relatively new, and you have a lot of injured players. So, do they push guys out that they don't know if they've reached their potential? Who knows? But I mean, shout out, they're running. I think their backfield got a little bit better. I actually like Rodney Hill. So, but you know.
It doesn't make much sense that you sign so many 3 stars to get over like that. I can understand if it was studs or something, but Chris, I forgot to let you guys know he's only here for the first hour, so he's going to have to jet off and handle some business. And we're just going to keep the conversation going. I'm just going to kind of back off. Jen, if you got anything you want to bring up, we're going to have some fun. I'll throw the banner up here. If you got any questions for Chris, James, Jen, Tiny Hat, anybody, get them in and I'll answer the phone and get you up here.
I do have something. It's about Zion Grady.
Okay, I'm listening.
What are our thoughts there? Because he was wearing them icy whites. I like it.
Ornate bottoms, though, right?
I think we have a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now, again, we have to continue to have proof of concept, and we got to get a little bit more activity out of those coaches right there. But I think from what I know, when it comes to NIL, which they have not talked about because that would be illegal. But I do know when it comes down to that point,
don't drive them there. That's for sure.
Yeah, we definitely will no longer drive people places. I think we have all of the tools to be able to compete. I think our biggest saving grace, and I can say this from seeing how kids are getting recruited, we are definitely more relational. We sell more relation than the everybody else. We are really harping on that. I think the best way to continue to make that stronger is by winning. So we have to continue to win, and we have to be able to produce. But again, this year right now, I can't even be honest with you. Haven't seen them all move and work out. I got to see them in practice. This reminds me of 2022 right now, where I didn't know what I was looking at. I knew what I was looking at going into 23, but I have no idea what these guys like. Who the soup? Obviously, we hope Patrick Payton. We think Patrick Payton would be that guy. Patrick Payton could. He's better than this guy, but I'm just using this guy as an example. Patrick Payton could be like how we all felt D-Mac was going to take that next level step in 2022, and it ended up being Jared Verse. And now, so you got our Tonga Connect over there in ST, and then you've also got Durage. So hopefully one of those guys pop off. Similar to other different things, the wide receivers. There's just so much uncertainty. But if they're able to develop these guys, and these guys are able to put out a really, really good product with a schedule that actually should allow us to build up to be really, really good before we play the Notre Dames, the Miamis, or the Clemsons in the crux of our schedule, I think recruiting would be like shooting fish in a barrel.
People were expecting a decline. I think what we got this year, and I want to hear y'all's comments on it. I think you have a much more talented team, less experience, kind of like what he was alluding to. Like, the sky's the limit. We're going to have extremely talented guys, but we're just not quite sure. So, yeah, I agree. We're very close to 2022, but the people that are acting like the talent is going down, it's absurd. The talent's getting better. I think the blue chip ratio, if anybody cares to look at that, doesn't matter as much as it used to just because they get it so wrong. But the talent level is definitely that trend is steadily going up. You may lose a game because, this offensive line hasn't played together as much. But this offensive line is going to be bigger, stronger, and faster than anyone we've had since Mike Norvell's been here. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this team, just the way that it's set up, I got to see how the ACC drops the schedule because they might try to screw us over when they do
Wednesday.
drop the full
They will.
schedule. But looking at the schedule, we got Georgia Tech, Memphis, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, Florida, Duke, Boston College, Cal, Clemson, North Carolina, the Hurricanes, and SMU. Realistically, I only see 3 games on that schedule that could give us headaches. So even if we're worried about taking a step back from being undefeated, we legitimately only have like 3 games to look at where we need to say, all right, this could be the game. Just like we did last year when we had LSU, we had Clemson, and then we had the Duke game. I don't see anything that's going to really stop us from getting to where we need to go, especially if the schedule breaks right, because we're going to have, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 bye weeks this year, correct? Like, don't we get 2 bye weeks this year?
Well, due to Ireland, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah,
because they haven't posted the schedule yet. I'm not sure
Right.
if it's going to be a 2-week break or not, or if they're going to have one and then one later, maybe.
Chris and James, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I could be I'm not used to it, but I could be. I've heard that Ireland might be August 23rd or 24th. You tell me if I'm wrong there. It's going to be a little bit earlier of a game. And so then their first game wouldn't be played until after Labor Day. Now, again, I don't know that that's for sure. It's just something
No,
I
that's
read
when it
or
is.
heard.
No, that's one.
Okay.
That's public knowledge.
Okay. So then, yeah, you're going to have another bye week in the season after that.
Right. So even if we
Yeah.
get if the schedule is put out right and we have that time, I see a lot of teams that are on this schedule that are going to give these young guys this experience. So they can have all the talent, but we'll be able to tinker around with this and we'll be able to go on this run and have another productive season here, contending for the ACC. I think we legitimately have another shot to go back and win this conference again, even if it's not undefeated. I don't really see anything that I'm worried about on this schedule here outside of Notre Dame, which, we'll see. Clemson maybe. But outside of that, I'm not really worried about anything else on the schedule. I just want to see the progression from these young guys, and I think we're going to be able to see that as we go. And Norvell should be able to sell that on the trail as well. So, in terms of what's his name, Grady, climb, baby.
Grady. Yeah,
get in here and climb, baby. You at a position of need, we can get you right in here and get you on the ball. Come on in here. Tiny Hat will be on here lying about you all season long like I do everybody else. So just get on over here, hop on this ladder and start going up to greatness, baby. That's what we need.
And we got the 12-team playoff now. I feel like that changes the math. Not like you ever, these guys are still going to want to go undefeated, run it wire to wire. But how much does that change, Chris? Like, you could drop a game or two as long as you get in that conference championship game or you're right there. It's not that hard to be ranked top 12, especially once we get out of the ACC.
I'm going to let Chris take this, but I have another take too. So I'm going to see what he says first.
So theoretically, you can drop a game. I would say you don't want to do that based off of, let's say that, because you got to look at it, your conference champions get the first 4 spots. It doesn't matter where they're ranked.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be ranked 22nd and win the ACC by some chance. They're supposed to get a spot. But the argument would come into play that if you were ranked that low, you've lost 2 games or 1 game, and the number 5 team in the country is not a conference champion, but they're a much better team than you are, then their job is what? The same thing that they said with the 4 games, that they're supposed to put the 4 best teams in. So then they're going to try to stray the bullshit of putting the best 12 teams in, and a conference champion being ranked in the teens or the early 20s won't work out. So could Florida State lose a game and potentially get in? Absolutely. With Florida State having the situation that they're having with the ACC, ESPN hates their fucking guts. Everybody's coming after them. Florida State is under the most pressure that I think Mike Norvell is going to feel based off of a lot of new players, a lot of new pieces. Does that mean that this coaching staff can't get them to where they need to be and go undefeated and win an ACC conference championship? That's my expectation. He says it all the time. He said it on James's radio show back when James had him on. The standard's the standard. Mike's not going to go, hey, we got a bunch of new players. We got these new portal guys. They haven't been here. The standard's got to be lowered a little bit because they're not this yet. That's not how he coaches. people ask, what's Mike's message to all these players? The same it was the day he walked in the door. Only now he has proof of concept of how to kick ass. That's the only difference. So in the subject matter, if we were anyone else other than Florida State and won the ACC championship, they'll be in the playoffs. If Florida State loses 2 games and wins the ACC championship, yeah, I have no doubt in my mind they won't try to push us out.
Yep.
Ain't no way.
I don't know. They won't be able to push us out, but we would definitely be playing the play-in games. Like we wouldn't be we wouldn't be getting a bye. We would more than likely host, but again, that's 3 extra games that you have to play. If I'm doing that math correctly. Yeah, because you would have an extra. Excuse me, have the extra game to get you to the Final Four, then get you to the national championship game. So at the end of the day, win your conference, winning you're in. But if you want to buy, you got Florida State's going to have to go undefeated.
What was your take on that, Jen? Didn't you say you had a different take on that?
I do. Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody wants to say Florida State's whining. We're whiny. The 12-team playoff is going to fix all of this year, right? Isn't that what they said? All right, let's go look at the top 12 teams. Let's go take that quick little gander, shall we? Who's the top 12 teams?
Yeah, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Florida State, Mizzou, Mississippi, Ohio State, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only ones, huh? Or is
Nobody from
us in
the Big
Arizona?
So Florida State and Arizona are the only 2 teams who are not Big Ten or SEC. So, and wait, hang on. I'm going to sound like a, wait, there's more. There's more. Let's look at the losses of said teams that are in here above other teams. So, yeah, I know Clemson had 4 losses. Yeah, they suck. But Tennessee at a whopping 9-4, who beat a 0. 0 is right outside that 12. Let's look. 12 is LSU. They have 3 losses. Arizona has 3 losses and they're at 11. That is the only one other than Florida State that is not an SEC or a Big Ten school. I mean,
There's no doubt about it.
This is not what everybody claims is going to be this huge fix. I don't care. Louisville got knocked down to 19 at 10-4, while you've got Tennessee at 9-4 at 17. Tennessee beat literally nobody, not one soul with a pulse.
That's some damn good losses, though.
They lost to Florida.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. If you're in the SEC and you rack up wins against Connecticut and Children of the Blind State and
Vanderbilt.
Orphanage U and Vanderbilt, you get to be ranked. When's the last time Tennessee had a good home and home against anybody?
That's a good question.
It was Virginia Tech with Butch Jones. And they played at that racetrack that made all of us just want to vomit. It was the worst game I've ever seen.
That was wild.
The scenario that I would like to add, and maybe I was a little bit mixed up on what I was trying to say, but so let's say that Florida State goes 12-0, right? But they lose the ACC conference game. I guarantee you Florida State in the top 12.
Nope. They won't.
I can't.
Look,
If that happens, oh no.
I can guarantee you it'll happen.
The only thing that, again, and I remember saying, the only thing with there are the what do you call it? The qualifiers. So they have, and that's the only saving grace with the 12-team playoff is what they have to do, which I don't know what they're going to do now that the Pac-12 is no longer. But basically, we know the power.
Well, they say there's 4 teams. Four conferences. So Pac-12 is out. Yeah.
The four main conferences will get somebody, and then there'll be 2 G5s. So when I think ironically 247 did their way too early college football playoff predictor, which they predicted us to be one of the 4 teams with the bye week. Actually playing Oregon in the second round. Oregon will play South Florida, so it'll be South Florida and Liberty would be the 2 G5 schools that they say that they're going to be in there. But what I don't want, which would be dope to have another game at Doak, but you really want the bye week. Like you really want the ability to rest your team so that you can know where you're going from there. Because again, 15, what would that be? That's 15 games now. So a 16-game season would be hell. That'd be crazy. It's a very long season. So but yeah, so they're, I don't know. Like I think Florida State will be fine. I think they just gotta win. We pissed enough people off though that there will be enough people rooting against Florida State.
Well, Mike Bartz jumps off the top rope, gives 5 Renegade Report memberships. We sure appreciate you. And just for a disclaimer, Mike doesn't get to pick who gets that. I don't get to pick who gets that. Jen doesn't. Neither does Chris or James. Those are random. So it's just going to give it to 5 random subscribers. I do know that. You have to be subscribed if you want to get some of these. So we appreciate you, Mike. We're going to do a members-only show one day of the week next week. Don't forget, guys, the phone lines are up there. Usually I'll blow my phone up. So get some questions in. Chris is only going to be here for another 10 minutes. It's going to drop down to us 4. So get your questions in if you have them. But to get these guys ready for that long haul, one thing we had a problem in the past toward the end of Jimbo's tenure, and definitely while Willie here was just absolutely just dropped out. We didn't even have a guy that had a degree to do the shit here. But we've got Josh Storms here now, and we've got the tour duty just got started on Friday. Pretty fired up to get those highlights to come in and everything. James, back in their day, they called it mat drills. That was Mickey Andrews' big thing. How big is it, going to be for these guys to get in there and get some weight on and just, to be ready for that season? How different does this team look than it did 2 or 3 or 4 years ago when Mike got here? It's pretty unreal.
Was that toward me?
Whoever, go ahead, baby.
I think that if anybody questions the strength and conditioning format of what Florida State's got going with Storms, they're about as smart as a CFB media reviewer who's having to review his props for genital herpes. I don't look. There's guys that work and do in action, and there's other people who talk.
Come on, I'm sorry.
There are people that are built by Storms, and there's people that have wives that hold their nuts in a jar on the dresser. So, I mean, I don't understand where some of these people come from. Like, redneck, whatever he said. Look, man, if that's the best that you got to fucking give up now. That shit's from elementary school. Stop. But what Storms is building in the strength and conditioning format is something that people look at and they grasp and say, well, what is Florida State from year 1 of Mike Norvell to year 4 to Mike Norvell? You look at Hakeem Williams when he came in as a freshman, Vendrevious Jacobs when he came in as a freshman last year. Both of those young men now look like men. Something that college football media reviewer could only potentially wish for. He's probably eating Cheetos and typing on his keyboard. But it is what it is. I think that as far as strength and conditioning goes, it's the best in the state of Florida right now, that's for sure. Miami's guys, other than Bain, nobody grew in dimension whatsoever. No one's jump got better. No one's gotten faster. Look, if you go statistically, look, I did this. I called my buddy at Catapult, who is one of the owners, and said that he's got one of the greatest endorsement deals that he could ever give. And he said, well, who is that and what is that? I said, you know those man brawls that you've got all the players wearing with the GPSs? All you got to do is call Mario Crystal Tits, get him one, and
Let's go.
make sure that it holds his breast down, because when he's in review, like in the press conferences, when he gets really excited, you can hear him slapping.
Oh no, you didn't. Jesus Christ. He's about sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain. No, you didn't just say he makes his titties clap on the Renegade rundown.
What's Mario Crystal Tits clapping his titties about now is what I always say.
That boy got him oiled up. They oiled up
God.
out here. Baby oil, son. That's what he's out here doing. It ain't even oil. You know what I'm talking about? You know what that is? That's taquito grease. That's what that is. He got rubbed all over them joints because he's out here wilding.
And yeah, Florida didn't lift weights for 2 years, I heard. And they just had to try to revamp their whole situation over there.
Bro, didn't Florida have like a 500-pound D lineman? That dude went through strength and conditioning for a year, and he went down to like 470. Like, go sit down. So nobody want to hear that.
How do you have that guy and come to find out you're not trying to put bulk on anybody? You're doing nothing but cardio, and you got that fucking guy on your D line. How does that happen? Because I'm not bullshitting. That's the story. They did nothing but cardio for 2 years under Napier.
He don't even listen. He doesn't even like have a bull rush. He just falls forward. Like that don't even count.
They failed him. I don't even want to make fun of that guy. It's like you get that guy in, your goal pretty much like in the program should just be to get him to drop weight, because as he drops weight, he's gonna become more athletic. He's gonna be healthier. It's like they just told him, just keep doing what you're doing, keep eating. I really disappointed how they handled that.
They called it the fat program. He was actually in the program to try to they literally had him running extra, and they had him trying to do stuff, and he just
well, that's good.
He just kept eating, and then it just didn't work out.
Not
y'all are blaming the
guy
for stress eating for losing. Y'all do realize that's why he was eating. Stress eating
not taquito grease.
That's
not
what it is.
taquito grease. IKEA.
That is taquito grease. That's what that is. That's that grease. You put some ice cubes in there and rub a ladle over the top, and all of the hard stuff gets stuck to the bottom of it. That ain't nothing good coming out of there. That's the sludge at the bottom of the pan after you finish cooking all your food. That's what he got slathered all over him. That's why them kids go there and they're like, yo, yeah, he's kind of off. He's blowing up my phone. He's sending me pictures with grease all over his body. And then he's sending this 4'9" offensive line coach out here. Shouldn't he have no legs? Didn't he say if his offensive line wasn't good, he shouldn't have no legs?
He definitely.
So is that why he 4'9"? I'm done with all these unserious programs. All of them can go sit down somewhere. Both of them.
No doubt.
Chris, what about Solomon? What about Solomon at Florida for a couple days?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, you go down there, you get free money, you get free food, you get free stay. Unfortunately, there's only meth heads to look at, so there's no girls. And then potentially, you get to see Billy Napier. His left eye goes this way, his right eye goes up. So you don't know who the fuck he's talking to when he's talking. But he also likes to do the reach around. I don't know if everybody's ever, but he really enjoys it. And I was told that you get a lifetime supply of condoms when you go down to Gainesville, and also you get checked every day for different STDs just based off of what you touch inside of the facilities, because they say you can't get anything off of a toilet seat, but
bullshit, man.
That's called Hep C, darling. That's called Hep C.
Them crabs would grab a nut here and swing to the sack to the left, buddy.
Jimmy.
That's a Rodney Carrington bit.
Reaching rounds with Mario got the keto grease, and he doing reaching rounds with Cajun butter. Both of them unserious.
I gotta read all the super chats. That's something we do here at the Renegade Report. So Mike Ionitis comes in with a $9.99 super chat talking about I don't know. We lost the context here, but it's something making fun of Miami, and he says rubbed in Cuban ball butter. So that's appreciate the super chat, buddy.
That's his moves.
Yeah, those man things. Yeah, we don't. You just put a picture in my head that I really, really don't appreciate, but I do appreciate the $10, and I can't believe Chris that's a good one. That's a classic. Somebody's gonna have to cut that out. That was a moment here on the show. Again, guys, the line is on the bottom of the line if you want to get any calls in. Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I was just going to say, speaking of which, with Mario's moves, I mean, I'm sure everybody on here saw that wonderful message I got last night from some weird Miami fan. So his defense for wanting me to get run through by the whole Florida State team was that I made fun of Mario's moves. I'm not sure that's the same. But yeah, that's what that fan base does. Isn't it fun? Oh,
That's
by the
cool.
way,
The
he's
fan
gotten
base.
Elon Musk kind of flagged his account, by the way, which is really unfortunate.
It's like I always tell people, Mario not gonna let you fuck, bro. Like Mario can defend himself, man. Like Mario can defend himself. At the end of the day, you know, people get way too personal.
It's crazy.
Kind of like basically he hit you what Mel Gibson told his daughter. That epic rant where he said, "I hope you get R'd by a gang of black guys."
A pack of
Wasn't that Alec Baldwin with his daughter?
I thought it was Alec Baldwin.
No. Alec Baldwin called her a little kid.
Oh, okay.
Mel
I'm
Gibson
sorry.
was the one telling her to get run down on by a pack of naysayers out here. So
yeah, it was crazy. It was very like he could have picked anything. Like he's just like he picked it, but but that's crazy. That's very interesting why things escalate to certain ways that they don't need to because you disagree with somebody. But yeah,
they just mad.
So number changes. A bunch of these guys have changed their numbers. They've kind of set a pretty high standard. I'm a little surprised by some of them. I'll read them off here. See what you guys think about them. Shaheem Brown goes to number 1. I love that one. On offense, I've been a big fan of him. He just hasn't really stayed healthy. Kentron Portier goes with the number 1. Big statement there. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But this is the one me and Chris talked about earlier on the phone. Joshua Farmer goes with number 5, inside guy. Daryl Jackson, your other likely inside starter, goes with number 6. So combined, both of our inside tackles is going to equal 56. So that is going to be pretty wild. We're going to have a 5 and 6 in the middle. And another one that stands out to me, Azaria Thomas locking down number 8. Then you got Omar Graham got 9, Nicholson got 20, Edwin Joseph with 33, Jaden Jones with 44. I think DJU is going with number 4, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
It's 4?
Yeah, so
that's right, because Wichita didn't come off of that 5. That's right, Deuce didn't come off the 5.
it's a little bit surprising, ain't it? But hey,
Shit,
Deuce is that dude. Huh?
I need them D linemen with single digits to ball out though.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
you don't wear that single digit on that D line. I can't have you getting pushed back, 2 yards in the back behind the line of scrimmage. I need you to be on point out there with that. And then if you're rocking especially if you're rocking number 5 is starting to gain some notoriety, and number 4 has always been a big number for us anyway. We're gonna have to see some real dogs if they're gonna be out here getting these single digits.
Yeah, I agree. That's that's what I said. It's kind of high praise. Azaria Thomas in 8, that's the one that I look at and I go, okay, that makes sense. A lot of people have been talking about he's going to take the next step, become that all-conference dude. Are we all in agreement like that? Does everybody agree? Because I agree. I think he's going to be that dude on defense, be the best corner we got. I also think Fentrell Cypress could have a Jerry and Jones type breakout, after being one of the guys that the fans seem to attack a lot. This year I think Fentrell could really take a leap next year.
What I think people need to realize about Fentrell Cypress is that he was, as advertised, from Virginia. The issue is you have a perfectionist as your coach when it comes to the DB room. And I don't know if people notice how much Azaria Thomas's form has changed, how much Shaheem has changed, how much Kevin Knowles has had problems with the change. And Cypress had a little bit of a learning curve with this change. It's all about hip rotation and how you move on the inside and out. It's hard for some guys to completely unlearn what they've learned their entire life. Fentrell started catching on to it as we got midway through the season, and he's getting a lot of clap back because he left this guy supposedly open, or he left that guy supposedly open, or he got burnt. Whatever the case that everybody cried about. The facts are is if you go look at their grade from DB1 to DB 1900, it doesn't matter as long as they played defensive back at Florida State. Their numbers are truly improved. Cypress had better PBU numbers at Florida State than he did at Virginia, but at Virginia he was considered a great. At Florida State, he let too many people burn him and all this other shit. You see one play where Cypress lets this one guy go. That's because he's supposed to be getting help over the top. He's supposed to now drop down in this particularly zone of where the quarterback could underthrow the ball. The safety was supposed to take over and continue to cover who was playing safety at the time. Not going to name nobody, but he failed on his coverage, and the guy got open. That wasn't on Fintrell Cypress. That was a sign of the defensive play. And yes, it was a touchdown. It happened. Shit happened.
Seen that same exact play. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's took enough heat. You won't throw him in the fire anymore on that play.
But at home or throughout the season, before we played the Georgia game, Florida State allowed 4 passing touchdowns. 4. But we're complaining about DB play. I guess you got to find something to critique or you got to find something to cry about. And that's understood. Everybody needs something to cry about now and then because their lives are sad enough that you have to cry about someone else's performance. And then that's fine. Like, do what you want to. But if you're going to tell me that Fintrell Cypress was a problem for Florida State's DBs, I disagree. I'm just going to let you know that you need to watch the game of football and not listen to a bunch of talking heads, especially when they were upside down U's. Like, that's who y'all are listening to. Be careful on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. It's toxic, and it's miserable, and misery loves company. So be very careful with what spaces you jump in because they can get you to believe in shit that just isn't true. So be careful with what you listen to.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's one of those things, like when you have a top 3 passing defense, you know, eventually every once in a while somebody's going to catch a ball. And it's almost like just since he plays a corner position that's close to the camera, it's like that's the people see him a bunch. That's they get after. I saw somebody said maybe his weakness was tackling, and he isn't a huge guy. But no, I just think it's going to be one of those things where second year in the system, like Chris mentioned, second year with Patrick Surtain, I think maybe the communication, like he mentioned, between the safeties and the corners will be better, and a lot of that stuff will get cleaned up. So, yeah, I agree 100%.
I think, again, I just want to reiterate what Chris said. Like, we gave 4 touchdowns in the passing game. Like, that's very hard to be overly critical in those scenarios. And you know, 2 of them came against one of our better DBs. Actually, he got dunked on. If that's what that would be, what the terminology would be, and he's considered one of the better ones. But things happen. You know, I think they'll be deeper. They'll be more experienced. Even the guy who a lot of people pick on the most, he was in his first year of actually playing that safety position, which it's different than the corner. Not everybody makes that switch as seamless as others. You know, everybody ain't Jalen. They could just go, that's athletic enough and football savvy enough to be able to play every position damn near on the defense. So I think, you know, a lot of times we just, as a fan base, we get locked into finding something that we want to bitch about for that day. If anybody remembers before the season started, it was we weren't 3 deep, we weren't 4 deep at the safety position. And as I told somebody, I'm like, guys, if we're down to safety 4, we got bigger issues. We need to talk about our conditioning. We need to talk about what the hell's going on. Why are people getting hurt so bad? You know, nobody could be that good. Not even, you know, other schools. As I talked about on my show on Friday, I stated, what if Alabama had to play Georgia on September 28th with the team that they have right now that's been decimated by the portal and injuries. Basically, like they would probably not be winning by they wouldn't be winning by anything. I also joked with a Miami fan. We beat Miami 45-3 in that same exact stadium with all of their starters. like they actually had hope. The stadium was filled. And so like and it could have been 63-3 because Mike had a heart. And so what I pray is that Mike ditches the heart. It becomes the savage in which he needs to be in order to navigate these treacherous waters. So I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah, we coming down.
Yeah, because Mike could have scored at the end of the Louisville game. He didn't. He took a knee, unlike another team that doesn't know how to do that. And he also did that in the Florida game. So hopefully he gets that cutthroat back to him and understands that this game now, you got to win by more. It's not about being nice. It's not about being classy. You're just going to have to put your foot on the throat and run it up. That's it.
Right.
I don't think you'll ever see an end of the season like that where he did everything he preached. He was the bigger man.
Yep.
He did everything the absolute right way, and it didn't pay off. From now on, it's scorched fucking earth and get after it. Yeah, I agree 100%.
I'm sorry, but as a bunch of Florida people on here, I'm not trying to make this political, but I just got news that Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the presidential race.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It's going to get real here in the next couple of months, no doubt.
Wow.
That is hilarious.
My goodness. Anyway, sorry, that was just up on my little screen. I know we have a lot of Florida people in here. Just saying, that's some news. You can get away from sports, but don't leave the show, please. We love you here. So, God, Miami. Let's give some thoughts on what your win thoughts are for them this year. And I don't mean like as a troll, but how many games do you guys each think they win this year?
How many
Chris,
should
let's go
they
with
win?
you.
They should win 10 or 11. How many I think they're gonna win? Probably 8 or 9. And then Mario's seat is gonna be on fire, and I'm gonna absolutely love it. Absolutely
You
love it.
think? Okay. I think you're doing better than what I think they're going to do. Chris, what do you think?
Ceiling 8, floor 6.
All right.
Just because their coaching's god awful. I appreciate y'all for having me on. Anytime y'all want me to talk about Mario Crystal Tips, let me know. I'll see y'all next time.
Anytime we want to hear about how he makes it clap, Chris is our man. Make sure y'all get over to @SpearAddicts and you're subscribed and membered up over there. Appreciate you, Chris. Man, I can't believe it. When he said make them things clap in the front, I about lost it. But I digress.
Honestly,
Guys, the number is up. I don't know why y'all ain't calling. Y'all making me look bad here. Usually y'all are blowing us up. What's that?
Let me get to it. I'm gonna put it in the chat to tell them to call.
I mean, so I'm looking at their schedule. So they got Florida, FAM, Ball State, USF, Cal, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Duke, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. So if I'm just going to be honest, they should beat FAM. They should beat Ball State. They should beat Virginia Tech. They should beat Syracuse. That's 4. So I'll say those 4 are lock victories. They should beat Florida. We'll see. So that could be 5. And then you got USF and Cal. I don't think Cal is very good, so they should beat Cal. And USF will give them a dogfight, but they should beat USF. So that leaves legitimately, and Georgia Tech, I'm sorry. So that puts them at 8 right there. The games that I'm looking at that'll be tough for would be Louisville, us, and Duke. And I'm circling that Duke game because that is the Manny Diaz return to glory. I cannot wait for that game. I hope.
Do you mean for Miami or?
Yes, for Miami.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, whoa.
That is the Miami.
Sorry,
Manny
I wasn't
Diaz
listening
return.
first.
Oh yes, so they realistically should win 10 games. They should win 10 games. They're not beating us. I don't believe it. And I don't think they'll beat Louisville. So that's 2 automatic losses. So 10-2 should be where they are competing for an ACC title. But they got Taggart light. So he probably gonna drop 1 or 2 or more games, and they're gonna end up with 8 or 9 wins, and it's gonna be hilarious.
Well, we got our first caller, so let's give. We're just gonna give it a shot. You're live on the Renegade Rundown.
Oh, do you want me to wait till he stops talking?
Well, you're gonna have to mute the show, but you're live right now on the show.
Okay. I guess I'm old school. My first game was okay, hold on. Sorry about that.
It's
First
okay.
time calling in.
Thank you for calling. We appreciate it.
I'm old school. My first game was when Lane Fenner catch that they called back bad. So that tells you how old I am. But I know y'all all hate Miami. I can't hate them. They gave us a chance to play big time football. And I hate the Gators. Absolutely hate them. My dad played, coached, and graduated University of Florida. Whole family graduated FSU but him. But my question is this. I'm not going to ask about the Canes because they're the champs right now until football starts. But anyway, the Gators, what do you think they're going to do? I know we're going to beat the dog crap out of them, but how do you think they're going to go after that?
All right, thanks for the question. I'm gonna hang up and open the line, but she got me there for a second. She said the Canes are champs of the off season until the season gets here. She threw that in there again. That is a good question. You know, we had a couple weeks ago. I think we had me and Chris, or maybe me and James and Jen on here, and we were talking. A lot of us were leaning Florida. Florida, to be honest, I thought like it looked like their shit was just completely falling apart. They've we've had hit the absolute windfall with this Bama situation. They've at least picked up a few scraps. While we were alive, I think Jameer Grimsley committed to them. Manny Nunnery has decided to come back, a linebacker that had hit the portal. A couple little things like that. So Florida is kind of gaining some ammunition, stop the bleeding. But my thing for Florida is just their schedule, man. They've got a tough schedule. I don't buy. It's not as bad as like a lot of these people make it out to be, but when you know, Tiny Hat just went through Miami's schedule. You put that up next to Florida's, and yeah, it's an absolute monster, murderer's row gauntlet. So it's tough for them to get 8 or 9 games. What Napier needs to do is going to be tough. So that's the thing. I just don't see how Florida doesn't run him out of town after this year.
Real quick, Chris, you said it's not as bad as people think. I want from October 12th to the end of the season. This is what, obviously, I think a lot of these teams will be better, but right now this is how they have everybody ranked. They play the 17th ranked team. They play the number 1 ranked team. They play the number 2 ranked team. They play the number 14th. Actually, you know what? Forget the 17th team for a second. Let's just not even get that far ahead of ourselves. From November to the end of the year, to the end of the season, they've got 1, 2, 14, 7, 16. That's the end of that. That's the way Florida's season ends. Now, before that, they have a bye week, so they'll win that. And before that, they have Kentucky, which Kentucky, since Stoops has been there, has kind of had their number for the most part. Stoops actually gave them a resurgence by knocking out Felipe Franks and then them having to bring somebody else in, because if Felipe finishes that game, they lose. But they play Tennessee the week before that. They play UCF. They're coming off of a bye week. Florida's got to somehow, and I don't think they beat Miami to start off the season, because I believe Miami is a better team than them right now due to not losing as many people. So start off, but I will say I think Billy is a better coach than Cristobal, and I do think they have talent in certain places. Their line play is pretty good. They just lost a tremendous amount of people that they haven't necessarily, filled those voids in yet. But Miami, Sanford, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State, the only benefit they have in that is that all of those teams will have a different quarterback, and 2 of those teams will have a different head coach. But what we do know about Mike Elko is he's a very good defensive-minded coach. They're going to be very well disciplined. And Texas A&M, while Texas A&M lost a lot, they also retained a pretty good amount of people, and they had a pretty decent recruiting class. I have no idea what to tell you about Mississippi State, but if they can somehow go 3-1 in the month of in the first month of college football, basically that Labor Day weekend going into the end of September, then I think, and then somehow pick up 2 games in October, because between UCF, Tennessee, and Kentucky, they could mess around and really have a good year. Like, I don't think they're going to, but I'm just finding a strategy. But I think Florida's ceiling is 6 wins, but the floor is
3, 4. Yeah, the floor is hell.
There's only one team that they can legitimately that I can just say straight up, I know without a shadow of a doubt that they'll beat
Samford.
And that's like no troll. It's just with the amount of people, if the amount of people that they've lost, like it's hard to replace that kind of production. With Prince, whatever his name is, you have your guard. You already, but that's not even counting attrition that you lost. You lost your backup quarterback. You lost numerous people in your secondary. You lost numerous people in your linebacker core. You had a really, really elite recruiting class that if you could have kept together, you could have maybe gotten them some on the field play earlier. But man, I don't think they make board in the Spades game.
Not at all. They get bossed. They get ran off.
Yeah, I guess the reason that I thought that it wasn't so bad, I guess I saw it before it got laid out. And like you said, if you look at that screen, if you look at the top 6, 7 teams, it's like, they only one for sure win, but they can split these. And then you go to the bottom, and it looks like somebody took all their best games and put them in a row. But it's like, yeah, that is wild. Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. That's,
like by the time they hit November, everybody's ready for the holidays, man. Like,
they're gonna be. I just feel bad for them kids. Them kids. You want to talk about quitting? I mean, you're gonna be tempted to quit somewhere around LSU. It's gonna be tough. But it looks like we got a 305 number coming in. This could be good. You're live on the Renegade Rundown.
Yes, sir, guys. I love your show. I've been watching your show recently. I don't mind that you bang on Mario. I love Coach Norvell. I wanted him from Miami, but Miami didn't want to pay nobody. And a lot of the things you guys say is true. I love my team and with my team since 1981. Can't change that. But I don't hate when Florida State does well. I just hate when our kids from Florida leave to Alabama, Ohio State, and all that. I'd rather them to stay in our state and beat each other up than go away. That's all I got to say, guys. Great show. I'm going to keep listening. Keep banging on Mario. He needs to do his job. His job is to win.
Man,
thank you, guys.
We appreciate it, man. What's your name?
My name is Alejandro Tavion, but my friends call me Alex. I'm a mortgage broker here in Florida.
Heck yeah.
I've been following the Canes since '81, since I was in high school, and I've been watching Florida State. Believe it or not, I cheer for you guys when you play other teams. It's just that I'm sorry, but Jan, I'm sorry, but when you guys play Miami, I hope to win by 50. It's just nothing personal.
We can't blame you there, man. You're a unicorn. We appreciate you.
I wanted you guys to go to the playoffs. I wanted you guys to have a shot. Because at the end of the day, a lot of Florida kids, a lot of kids from our local high schools play there.
Hey, man.
This is where a lot of people. I'm 59 years old. I'm not a child, but a lot of people see this. That I don't want our kids. I'd rather Jay Smith gone to you guys than go to Ohio State.
Hell yeah. Well, speaking real game, we appreciate you for calling in, and you're right up there with Bobby. We found us another dope-ass Miami fan. We appreciate it. Make sure you call in again next time, brother.
Yeah, I'll be watching and listening, and hey, bang on Mario all you want. He has to do his job. At the end of the day, he gets paid to do his job.
Absolutely, man. And we'll keep it going. Thanks again. Man, that was interesting. We got Alejandro, man. Thank you so much for calling in. We've got another, a Miami fan that, gets how the game's played, man. That was awesome. Jeff Hill, thanks again for the $10 super chat. Got to read this one quick. It covers up like our whole damn panel. Got some big guys in the transfer portal. Guards for that. Ferguson from Alabama. And we have a Florida guard. He's talking about Richie Leonard. Do you think they're going to try to bully some teams with the offensive line this year? That is a good one. That sounds like a good one for the for James.
I mean, they're going to definitely you have to realize while Jordan Travis was very much so known. And again, this is information that I got from the guy, the man. We need a willing runner. We don't necessarily run our quarterback like that. It just seems like that because Jay Trav did that a lot. But some of the things that we didn't do a very good job of was the pulls. So we run a lot of counter action. It's not really a true traditional counter, but it's more of a G concept. So you're pulling your guard, and we run a two puller. So that first pull, those pulls were a lot slower than what we would have liked, which is where you saw Trey Benson get a little bit anxious and not really do things to the manner in which he needed to do it. So now that you guys, if you go back and you watch the highlights that Brendan Sano put up of Richie Leonard, while I wish I saw more devastation. But I definitely see where he's able to get out there athletically, and I think that's where we didn't have that. But you also have your Fergusons, who are a little bit more of road graders, and you also have another guy that could come in and potentially compete for that center position. So, like, if we're coming in there and we're able to get just up on people a little bit faster, it makes us a little bit more dynamic in our run game. Now, patience, which is a virtue, which we have with our new running back. He's a little bit more patient. Again, from the film that I've seen of him playing in Alabama, he should do very, very well in this game. So if we're able to run the ball effectively and we do implement more of the RPO or the zone read with a 250-pound load of a man, and DJU, I think things will be you'll see a little bit different. And I think that will make teams have to play us a little bit differently. You're going to run a zone, or you're going to want to make sure guys keep everything in front with the eyes, knowing that you have a quarterback that's probably a 4'6" guy that's over 250 pounds. But the beautiful thing is he has a pretty strong arm with guys like Jaylen Brown, with guys like Benson, Destin Hill. I always forget Megamond's real name. What's Megamond's name?
Ja'Kai Douglas.
Ja'Kai Douglas. Guys that could actually take the top off of a defense, which also, again, leaves your big 6'7" tight end, Murlock, leaves him to be a weapon. So there's a lot of beautiful combinations that we could potentially be able to run this season with kind of line like that. But we got to be like, they got to get out there and they got to play. So we don't, you don't have to be devastating. We just need the opportunity to be there. We need willing runners. But I think that line will provide more aggressiveness and make people have to make choices. So
yeah, I love it. And we'll get to run some of that like you've talked about. We'll get to like actually run some more duo and stuff like that, power run game, and then have a real counter game behind it. Not just run that power G like you were talking about, where that's just what we're best at. And even when we run it, somebody mentioned it earlier, Richie Leonard can get out there and run that damn thing, not get tangled up with the backs. But we got another caller. This one is a Georgia caller. Go ahead, you're live on the Renegade Rundown.
Hey, what's going on, man? First, I want to pay homage to the host and the hostess of the greatest show going on right now. And then to my guy, Big James, who I follow. I'm subscribed to, listen to weekly. But I must say it's an honor to share a platform with the mighty Tiny Hat. This guy has stood in the paint for FSU all year long with that old creepy Gator fan and Amon Richards. Tiny Hat, you got my support, my guy. But anyway, I only got one question for Big James. James, tell me the truth. Is the number 2 on the table for your guy, your receiver coming from your high school to Jacksonville? That's all I want. Y'all guys have a blessed Sunday and go Noles.
Great question, man. Yeah, Jen brought up the icy whites, and yeah, it was the number 2, James.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I haven't talked to him about that, but I'm sure that would not be number 2 would not be the reason why he doesn't commit. So, like, if that's what it takes, I'm pretty sure that jersey will be released. Which is, people get really confused with what we do at Florida State now. We did retire jerseys. We did retire numbers. Now we retire jerseys because that's just the beautiful thing of having such a rich history. If we keep doing that, we won't have any jerseys to be able to field the team. So, like, you got to be able to take a step back and just do that. Now, in the past, what happens is you can unretire a number. So, like, Charlie's number was unretired. I forgot who wore 17.
Jalen Ramsey got to wear it a couple times on special teams, I know.
Was that okay? Yeah. And then we have had my boy got arrested dead, Geno Hayes. They unretired the number of Derek Brooks so that he could wear the number 10. So it's not so the reality is it's not an unprecedented move. So like it is not necessarily disrespectful to Deion. Typically what happens is you pick up the phone and there's a conversation to be had.
I was about to say, I don't know if that conversation would happen, would it?
Now it's just the conversation won't be had because as I've said, and I know it gets some people who have pretend to have relationships with Deion or whatever that you can love Deion. I personally don't give a fuck about Deion. Like and that's just my relationship with Deion. So I mean I can't tell other people how to feel with them. Like it's just like me telling you if you're a Christian, go to church. I don't go to church on Sunday. You're a Muslim, go to mosque. Good for you. Go be as good of a person as you want to. Personally, as with me in my house, we don't fuck with Deion. So you're not going to be able. He might have been good to you. He might have given you Christmas gifts or signed an autograph to you when you were 8. I have stated it numerous times on my show, on social media, and things of why I don't fuck with Deion. This is a fraternal thing that you will never understand because you didn't do mat drills, you didn't score in both of those end zones, did not bleed a sweat on that field. It is something that he personally did, not just to me, but to an entire generation of Florida State fans. And I'm not gonna keep going up here, and he can do whatever he wants to do. I don't have to fucking forgive anybody. I don't wish him no ill will. Flourish, but I'm going to tell the truth about the shit in Colorado. I'm going to tell the truth about how I feel about Deion. He happens to employ one of a guy who I happen to like, Devin Respress, who was at FAMU, who is now doing recruiting over there for Deion. I want Devin to be successful. And if Devin's going to be successful, that means Deion has to be successful. But it is still fuck Deion with Magic Johnson's deal until I die. So like it does not like if you don't like it.
Where are you going, Jen?
Like I mean, it's been people like you want to fight me because I don't give a damn. You get your ass whooped, thrown off the top of lot 19 to see if Deion pays your medical bills or put some money on your fucking Like,
yeah, I don't know your personal story, but that's kind of from an outside perspective. It seems like it has and always been about Deion, and it's like.
Yeah, it's not about like it's the Deion. You don't like black coaches. No, I didn't say anything about not liking black coaches. You don't want him to be successful. No, bitch, no. Jackson State good. I hope Jackson State wins every game, but fuck Deion. Like just not fuck Deion Sanders Jr., not Shiloh, not Shadur. No, him. That's it. Nobody else. Like boom. Like when I say fuck you, it is very precise. It's like a surgeon. They're not poking other shit. They're going right for where they're at. I mean what I say. When I say it, I mean it to you, not everybody else. Just you, not your whole crew. Like this. I ain't Tupac and hit them up. I'm not saying that everybody around you. Like I'm just saying you per se because you did something that I feel is fucking green, and I feel you're about yourself. And it's documented. It's been there. Like not just for me saying it's documented on ESPN. All that shit. Like, it doesn't mean like, well, Deion is the great. You can't say fuck Deion. He's one of the greatest DBs at Florida State. I didn't say he wasn't. That has nothing to do with it. Deion Sanders was really, really good. And you know what? If he drops them prime shoes in Colorado colors, I'm probably going to be one of the first ones wearing a pair of them shits because them shit's fire. But that being said, and I also know how marketing goes. Me buying that pair of shoes is not fucking – Deion's already been paid. So it doesn't matter. Like if Uncle Phil wants to pay him, he's gonna pay him. Outside of that,
so my thing is, since we're on the Deion train, what's going on with their insurance there with those kids? Has that been proven?
That's not Deion's fault. That's the secondary. So what happens is, and actually, I got a good friend at Florida State now.
Wait. But shouldn't the head coach make sure that's done?
Nah, what happens is it's not health insurance. They have health insurance. That's a university thing. So it's like, all right, so one, to play sports, you have to have insurance, like personal insurance. So that means your mom and your daddy have to have it. Or if your parents don't have it, the school, like we have staggered at Florida State, or they had it. But like you buy an insurance policy along with your school stuff. So like, and typically if you're on scholarship, they'll make sure you have that. You have to have a policy, a main policy. Now, the secondary insurance is covered by the university athletics. They have that. So like if you tear your ACL, your parents or your primary insurance is what pays the bulk. The secondary insurance, which the school has, pays the other part of it. What they were talking about is basically like hazard insurance, like which most players who have a draft status, Lloyd's of London, like you'll hear like Matt Barkley was one of the better cases that happened a while ago. I believe it was Matt Barkley. No, I'm wrong. Matt Lionheart is the one who had it. So he had two policies. He had the draft insurance policy. So if he fell out of the top 10, they would pay him what's the recoup for. And if you get hurt, they will pay you money because you went out there and put your body on the line and you got hurt at work. But you can't play football for X amount of years. Now, that's not a policy that's a policy that your best players should have. But for years, you had to have had a draft grade that could prove that you're worth that policy. And your draft, because let's say right now your draft. All right, let's use what KJ Bolden insinuated, for example. KJ Bolden said that somebody offered him $3 million a year for 4 years. So that's $12 million, which is basically would have made him a first round draft pick, which safeties don't get. Anyways, I'm not even going to get on that. But bottom line is, we know you're a guaranteed first round draft pick. We can go to an insurance company and say, this is how much money we want to insure his body for. So if something happens to you, you get $12 million untaxed lump sum because of the insurance policy. They didn't have those for Travis Hunter, Shadur, the better players. And that's not technically Deion's fault. That's something that maybe Deion could have done something for and made it happen. But like, I didn't have one for Florida State. Like, Bobby didn't go around. Now, Greg Jones.
Yeah, that makes it totally not. That's not what they reported because they're not even upperclassmen, so that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, like, that was probably somebody just trying to get a headline. Then if that's the case, because
they didn't lie. He didn't give them insurance.
Yeah,
but I mean that's everybody. Like only a percentage of our players last year would have that, like first round draft picks and stuff. So
hang on.
Go ahead, Jen.
Hang on. Now some things have changed. Whereas if you have kids who are on your team whose parents don't have insurance, that's almost a requirement. But
that should be handled by the university. Like for example,
true. When
I went to college, go ahead, my bad.
Hang on. I'm saying that is very true. However, I believe it was San Diego State had a court case that actually said the head coach should be confirming to make sure that any player,
young man
on their team who did not have insurance coming into the season before they take a snap on the field should have that secondary coverage. And it was because of a case brought maybe 3 to 4 years ago. I know I'm a loser. I look at this stuff.
I'm learning something new, so I'm all ears.
So 3 to 4, that is something that is considered a head coach responsibility by the California Supreme Court. Again, I don't know that that's going to turn over to Colorado, but what I'm saying is it's kind of a sloppy thing to have happen in your first year.
Now that's the big point of it. Regardless of it is a very sloppy thing.
Yeah.
To have happen. And that's so I've made a lot. So people come on my show all the time and make comments. One, we have thousands of shorts. My producer Miles does a phenomenal job of making me look like an asshole in 1 minute clips. But
oh no,
if you only listen to the clip, it sounds very bad sometimes. But if you listen to the entire 10 to 15 minutes, you get the context. But we talk about Deion and a couple of them. Some of the more popular ones have happened. One of them was why I did not believe Deion deserved the head coaching job, but it doesn't matter. He got the opportunity, but here's why you fail. It's a reason why you go through a process, right? So most guys become position coaches. Then you go from position coach to a coordinator. You go from a coordinator to a head coach. You go from a head coach at a small school to a head coach at a mid-level, or then you go to the big time. When you go straight to the big time, even our Mike Norvell, I love Mike Norvell. He skipped a lot of fucking steps. He went to Memphis, which he didn't have to build, to come to Florida State, which he had to build. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just, this is Florida State's not an on-the-job training type of school. So you're going to face scrutiny, and it's a lot more scrutiny at Florida State than at Memphis with the boosters that we have, and they got you chasing ghosts. But he's done a great job because he's at least been a head coach, and he's at least gone through processes. He knows. What Deion did was literally go from not having a degree and buying a degree, don't care how he got it, but he bought it.
Yeah, that's wild.
Becoming a head coach at an FCS level. Like, you don't know any of the fucking shit that you got to do. Like, you are a CEO. Like, it's like you just cannot, you can't do that. Then you were there and you won, but a lot of shit, steps got skipped at Jackson State that a lot of people just forgave and just forgot about because that's what happened.
Yep.
To go to Colorado, where you're doing the same thing. Now, what you do have to do is, because even if you're good, is you still have to have a DFO, which is your director of football operations. You have to have a good DFO. You have to have a good player personnel guy and a good chief of staff. So those three right there typically are the ones who are supposed to catch shit like that. And if you didn't do, perfect example, a lot of people pick on Tag about the last time we went up to Notre Dame. They say Tag missed. They say, oh my God, this is why he was inept. Tag missed the walkthrough. The offense didn't go through the walkthrough, which was not exactly what happened. Because if that did happen, you are not, while you feel you're picking on Tag, you're actually picking on Sherrod. And Sherrod, who's now the DFO at Marshall, who's a very, very fucking intelligent guy who would not make that happen. Notre Dame's DFO and Sherrod, there was this big snowstorm that had things cut off. It couldn't happen. He didn't miss it. The shit just could not fucking happen unless they changed the time, and they couldn't change the time. But again, that's what your DFO's job is supposed. So even in all of that, while it's under the head coach's jurisdiction, your DFO is supposed to handle that. But at the end of the day, all things come back to the head coach's table because you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. So, you're supposed to. Like, I didn't have insurance. My mother didn't have it. My mother wasn't working my senior and my freshman year in college. So she didn't. My senior year in high school and my freshman year in college. So we didn't have insurance. So I had to get insurance through Florida State so that I could do like minimal shit. But the cool thing is like, unless you got the HIV or the Magic or something like that, you're pretty good. You can just go to the athletic training office and they'll take care of all of that shit.
As long as you don't need that serum, that expensive serum. No, man. I almost said it was really hard for me not to crack the joke because you're like, you start out as a running back coach, then you go to this, and you're a coordinator, then a coach at a small school, and then a head coach at a big school, then the head coach of Florida State, then the running back coach of the Ravens.
Like,
I have never.
But he's killing it over there. I am happy for him, man. He's found him a spot. Sure.
I haven't heard anybody call it the HIV other than me and my friends, so I honestly just almost fell out of my chair.
The HIV.
During my time, it wasn't very much that ice electric stimulation and Vioxx couldn't cure. So whatever you had, that's what they were going to give to you. And you had to hit him, give him some ice. Well, Vioxx got banned, so it was ice, Bextra, and Eastil. And that'll cure it. So if that couldn't cure it, you got too much, man. So, but But nah.
Word. All right, guys, we're getting pretty late on here. We've got like less than 10 minutes probably left. So if you've
That's
got a
what I was gonna say.
question, anything, the number's on the line.
I got to bounce, but I'll see you guys over on the channel if y'all get a chance to.
Bet.
slide.
Is it 7:30 Eastern?
Shit, what time it is? Right? Yeah, let's do that. 7 is too quick. That 30 minutes gives me a chance to go get some food. Oh, my bad. 6:30 your time, Memphis time.
Right, that's what I thought I saw when you scheduled it earlier. That's why I asked. But yeah, 7:30 Eastern. Catch us over at Den Media Group. We're pulling the doubleheader, and James has got all kind of fun ideas. We're gonna have a lot of fun over there.
We're gonna let Tiny Hat go off here for a minute because that's what everybody is here for. I want to hear him rip him on some Hurricanes real quick, like while James steps out. Thank you. Let's do it.
I mean,
Dudes.
listen.
do it.
You know, it's. I'm still, Jen. You're not even listening to me because they are not the Canes. They are the Shames. All right. I have a dog. My dog's name is Hurricane. All right. He is a small Havanese Yorkie mix. He is a small half Cuban, half German dog. And he looks at you and he's just like, man, really? Like he has them looks in his eyes. That's what it is. They are the Shames. Okay. They are not in Miami. They are in Coral Gables. I know because I used to go down to Coral Gables. Shout out to this bar that I used to go to down there to try to see all of the BBL'd up women before BBLs were even popular. So I already know what their area looked like down there. All right. They play in Miami Gardens. Miami Gardens is in the middle of the hood. The middle of the hood. All right. That's why they got to travel an hour and a half to try to get down there. Oh, we got security and the buses drive us down. I don't want to hit none of that. You got to drive an hour and a half there so that you can get to your stadium. Okay. All right. So I ran down a list of things over this last 3 years. This is old boy's third year coming up here. A list of things here that Miami or the Hurricanes of Coral Gables, the UCG Hurricanes that they've done. Number one was I absolutely loved when he challenged the spot of the ball on the ground and the ball actually went back a yard instead of them getting a first down. It went back a yard. So it was then 4th and 2 instead of a first down. A fantastic coaching, fantastic decision maker.
That's when you throw your fucking TV out the room as a fan when they get you backed up a fucking yard because they challenged the spot. Oh my god,
it was great. It was great. They challenged it and it went back a yard. Okay, we already know they didn't kneel the ball at all, which was fantastic. They did lose to Middle Tennessee State. And one of the things that I loved about the Middle Tennessee State loss, which is also the game where he challenged the spot of the ball and it went back, was that same Middle Tennessee State game was where they were fighting each other in the stands. Okay, that whole fan base is in shambles. They're fighting each other in the stands. All right, we can continue on from there. They had 3 tech D-tackle built strippers at the tailgate down there. Okay, they look like Timmy Jernigan down in the 3-point stance trying to throw it on somebody in the tailgate. Okay, there was nothing good coming out of that establishment there. All right, even their fans of poverty, it's terrible. Okay, that's what they were doing down there. They have a 36-yard indoor practice facility. Okay, that is just abysmal. Okay, they can't
not 36.
36 yards. 36 yards. That's what they got. Okay, 36-yard indoor practice facility. Just absolute shambles down there. Okay, they've tried to corrupt the government down there in that county so that they could have a brand new football-only facility and a stadium built in an area where those rich people in that neighborhood are like, you must be outside your goddamn mind if you think we're gonna let you build this mess over here. Okay,
the infrastructure is already fucked up enough in Miami. Sorry, keep going.
That right, so we can go ahead and tell them to kick rocks on that over there as well. Let's see what else. They were their official tailgate for one of the games 2 seasons ago was rained out because apparently they didn't realize that there were going to be damn near hurricane force winds and rains coming through. So their official tailgate got washed out. There were only 15 people, and all 15 of those people got free tickets to the game in the upper deck. Not in the lower bowl where the tickets were sold out. They got free tickets to the upper deck. Okay. And that's since we're talking about tickets, they had buy one, get ones. They also had buy 2, get 2s for their games as well.
Them boys trying to deny that shit on Twitter now. Boy, we seen that shit in HD. Y'all had buy 1, get 2 free in that Rutgers game. We seen that shit.
Look,
I said, talking about come to the bowl. We'll give you 2 free tickets for next year, boy.
Oh my
we
God.
can get public to confirm because those were bogus.
Oh
Those
my
were
God.
Bogots.
It was fantastic. Okay. They got mashed up by Rutgers. Okay, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They got mashed up by Rutgers as well. So we can just continue on with the list of things that's going on down there. I mean, it is fantastic. I know because I'm down here. All right. I'm a 954, born and raised, been down here my whole life. And I see these Shames fans walking around here with their
They're actually in the streets. Are
they-
they in the
they're
streets?
all over. They proudly drive down the street with those flags in their windows, like letting
Ooh,
everybody know, do you. I also love
Tiny hat. Tell him what you do to the Canes fans around your house. What do you tell them to do?
oh no, I can tell you this. See, they're not around my house. Okay. They are not allowed to be in my neighborhood. They can't be over here. The only time they're allowed in my neighborhood is when I give them the code to the gate, and they can come in here and they can mow my grass, they can trim the hedges, they
Come
can
on,
clean
don't do
my
them. You
pool.
have to do them like
Only
that.
way they're even allowed to come
I was
near
gonna
my
say
pool.
Alejandro could come to your house, couldn't he? But then you took it there, and it turns into something else. But no, man,
Absolutely
there's
not.
some
Listen,
Bobby and Alejandro. They got to be
absolutely
allowed in the
not.
neighborhood.
Absolutely not. You know what, Alejandro, I would allow him, I would give him the gate gladly, but he has to come and pick up the trash out front on Bolt pickup day
Don't
and
do a
drive
boy
right
like
back up
that,
out of
man.
my neighborhood. I don't want you in my neighborhood. They're
Okay,
not even over.
but why do you want them to pick up the trash? Because what do they do to their own field?
Oh
That's
yeah,
the reason.
and we can get to that because last season we saw during that Duke game. I'm sorry, was it Duke? Yes, it was the Duke game. They were throwing the trash on the field after they gave up the bomb at the end of the game because they are the trash men. There is nothing but poverty coming out of that establishment down there, and I absolutely love it. Their players know it's poverty. That's why their players leave in mass. Their coaching staff knows that it's poverty. That's why they have to call these kids 70,000 times and then try to play Fortnite with them online to get them to commit. They,
Lord have mercy.
Mario's got 8 pair of shoes. All of them got holes in them. They're all penny loafers. All of them got holes in them. I've heard about this.
I can't.
His socks are pitch black on the bottom. And that's because the poverty going on down there is not allowing him to buy fresh white socks that he could be getting anywhere else. Okay. You can even see everything from the color of their jerseys. They wear highlighter orange and they wear lime sherbet green, glow in the dark jerseys to get beat down at home. That's why when they lost at the end of the season, I rocked my tiny hat with the glow stick tucked in so that they didn't feel like fools all by themselves. Okay. I had to let them know this. Okay. There is absolutely nothing good coming out of that establishment. Now, a lot of people always say, how come you always focus on the Hurricanes? How come you always talk about Coral Gables? Because I would talk about that team up there in Shamesville up there, but I don't want to abuse, I don't fight kids. I can't do that. Them people are broke down, they busted. All right. They're not standing on business. They ain't got no business. They too busy out there trying to get the moss to hang properly off of them terrible trees they got going up and down the road. They have nothing going for them up there. All right. Their coach can't talk. They don't even know who their assistant coaches are. They hired 1 million staff. I'm almost positive the only reason they increased the staff count is so that he could hire all of his family members to be there. People are they're not getting paid properly up there. That's why all they players leaving. It is just a shame up there. So I just let them go ahead and just be the dog water of the SEC like they are. So that's why I focus on the ones who come for me. Okay. You come for the regality. You see this right here? Those colors, garnet and gold. Okay. That is regal, royal colors. Okay. That's the only reason you would do this. You look at what they got on down there, and they're wearing, again, highlighter colors. It looks like something that my niece and my nephew would draw in elementary school class. And even when they try to be more festive, they then go and get these old baby blue peaches and pinks looking wild, like Easter colors going on out here. Don't nobody want to see that mess either. Okay. Them boys they can't coach. Their coach is terrible. He got a headset on. It don't even sound like anybody's on there. I bet he listening to slow jams while he's over there. He's probably listening to one of those right-wing radio stations telling people not to come over here no more. That's what he got going on. I don't want to hear nothing of what's going on down there. They can get the hell out of this whole area. So that's why if they don't win 10 games this season, it's going to be fantastic because then I'm going to get to see all of the Cubanos go, hey, Mario. And I'm going to say, hey. That's what you get, boy. That's what you get. I can't wait until that seat is just fire hot for them boys, and I'm gonna love every second of it while we are continuing to climb, baby. Continue.
So really, in all reality, what do you think they win this year? Like, let's take our glasses off. Let's be realistic.
Okay. So I pulled up the schedule here just so that I can be sure. Okay. I think they beat Florida, so that's a win.
I disagree.
I think they beat the only reason I say they beat Florida is because they have all off season, just like they did against Texas A&M. So they'll come out and look great in that first game. And
I mean, I agree, but I think Graham Mertz with Billy with a whole year to repair. Cam Ward just got there, so that's with Mario and that staff. That's why I'm going Florida. I'm
only leaning that way because they got all off season. They'll look good for the first 2 or 3 games, like they did last year. They'll look good for the first 2 or 3 games. So I got
for like the past 2 decades, it seems like they get to us or some other hard team, then they lose, and then they lose every game the rest of the year.
It doesn't have to be a hard team. It could be like NC State. It could be Louisville. It could be
whatever
North Carolina
with a pulse.
Exactly, and that's the other.
It could be MTSU.
They keep ruin our property value. That's what they're doing. They are the bando on the block. Okay, that's what they're doing. They are ruining our property value. They got us a nice house. We're building us a in-laws quarters in the back right now. They can't even get the hole fixed on the side of their building. So I think they beat Florida because they got all off season to prepare, and that'll be the sharpest they look. They'll beat FAM. That'll be all right. They'll beat Ball State. All right. I think they'll lose. They're going to struggle with USF because I think USF going to come to play, but they'll probably win that one too. So right now I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. That's 4 games that they want. They'll beat Cal. That'll be 5. I think they'll struggle with Georgia Tech, but they could pull it off. So that could be 6. All right. I think they lose to Louisville. I think they lose to Manny Diaz coming back down here.
Oh, for sure.
To bring that squad down here. I think Manny go out there and say, hey, all of those players that he was talking trash about, come on up here. We got y'all. So I think they lose that one too. So that's 2 losses. They definitely losing to us. That's 3 losses. They'll beat Virginia Tech. They'll beat Wake Forest, and they'll beat Syracuse. So I have them going realistically 9-3. All right, that's 9-3 right there. With a nice that ain't gonna hold up, Mario. That ain't gonna hold up. You should win 10 games this year because they always want to compare to Norvell. Norvell's 3rd season, how many games did he win? Norvell's 3rd season, how many? Okay, this is your 3rd season. These are your players. This is your culture. This is what you handpicked. This is what you're coaching. Even though that was the case last season, y'all made all the excuses. You have no excuses this year. Put up or shut up time. They better win 10 games minimum, and they got to make the ACC title game for the first time in forever. Might as well be out here singing songs from Frozen. For the first time in forever, they're going to make a championship game. I doubt it. They can go sit down somewhere. They're going to lose 3 games. They're going to be mad. And the only thing that they got that's saving them is that they don't have to play all of the big dogs from the ACC this year because of this rotation that they got going now. So they don't have to play the Clemson. They don't have to play NC State. They don't have to play they don't have Notre Dame on the schedule this year either. So the schedule is set up for them to look good. And I think they're going to fumble the ball at the 1-yard line like they did last year. And they're going to go get their asses the hell out of here while we're walking in to yet another ACC title game for the Garnet and Gold, baby. That's what I'm calling. 9-3, book it.
Facts. Love it, man. You heard it here first. He's a little higher than me on the win-loss, but I love it. If we can just shame them, just give them a little bit of hope, whatever the case may be, and take it out of here. Before we get out of here, Tiny Hat, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and stuff like that. So let's run your numbers up.
Man, listen, you can find me on Twitter at Enderpope, ENDERPOPE. I'm on there constantly talking wild garbage. I'm laughing at everybody. I'm on here enjoying myself. I make sure that anybody that has any smoke, I'm right there egging them on and instigating all kind of nonsense. You can find me on there, and you can find me right here on the Renegade Rundown because I'm always in the chat. I'm always calling up, and I'm making sure that we are in the Tiny Hat gang. Me being the CEO and El Presidente, as I like to say, is pulling up everywhere. So you're gonna see me right here as well.
You heard that. You heard it here first. Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Y'all check in with us, and Tiny Hat Gang will check in with you all. Jen, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, just Thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. You know, you're like one of my favorites, obviously. Yeah, I don't have a lot. Just let's go follow us over to Den Media Group. We are about to go do the damn thing. I do have to go to the ladies' room, so y'all give me a minute.
She's got a tinkle.
I do.
It happens.
Yo, I've had 4 kids, okay, that have danced around on my bladder, okay, for like almost 4 years, if you think about it. So
Jen gets a tinkle anytime she wants to. Anybody has any problem, they got to see me and Tiny Hat. But yeah, we will see you guys in a little bit. The memberships are open. The store is open. Make sure you hit that subscribe. We're about to hit 2,000 subscribers. And you heard Jen, we'll be at the Den Media Group here in about 26 minutes. So catch us over there. And Tiny Hat, man, thanks again for joining. We're doing a members only show sometime next week. So we'll definitely make sure you're a part of that. And we look forward to it. We'll let y'all know what's coming up next. We don't have anything. We have, I think, something next Sunday, but we'll let y'all know tomorrow about the schedule for the upcoming week.
and we're
Go
working
Noles,
on
baby.
something for Tuesday or Friday. So we're working on it.
There you go. Love you guys. Go Noles.